Hello everybody, I thought we'd have a look around our gardens or out on our daily walks and take some inspiration from nature. There's been some beautiful sunny weather the last couple of days. Maybe it's a bit chilly, but you know, we don't mind that as long as the rain stays away. And there's some beautiful blooms coming out. Lots of lovely contrasts. So you can see here some magnolia and also really inspired by the cherry blossom and the contrast that creates between the sky and the petals. Okay, so I'm looking here at the contrast between the flower and the sky. We've got a mid-tone sky and we've got a very light flower, but through those petals you can see some shadows, and they are very transparent, so you can see some of the mid-tones from the sky and the branches behind as well. So I'm using a light pencil to try and build in as much of that detail as I can, taking out with my rubber when I need to. Being aware that there is some really bright highlights there, so I'm leaving those alone. I'm just letting the paper show through. And the way we're going to tackle that is we're going to go around the edges of the flowers, and we're going to put in our mid-tones so that we can then start to evaluate the tones in the drawing. You can see here that I'm using my dark tones and mid-tones to put in some leaves. But some of these are in shadow. I'm really taking great care of where the shadows are and where the light is hitting. Okay, so you can see the general idea now. I'm starting to build it up what I can see. Apologise for the glitch there. I've been having a few technical errors, to say the least, with the recordings that I'm doing, but bear with me, I'll get there in the end, I'm sure. You can see that I'm starting to build in the leaves and the parts of the flower that are in shadow, and I'm really being mindful of keeping those areas of the petals as light as they possibly can where they are light, and really keeping an eye on, really having a look at what's happening there. Don't be afraid to swap over pencils. I would recommend using a HB or a H for the flowers, and then swapping back over to a darker one to do the mid-tones, maybe a 2B or a 6B. Probably a 2B would do you really well there. So you can see here I'm being really mindful of the gaps in between, and that's what's really going to make it. We're really going to have a look at the negative space here. So you can see that by putting in a negative space, if you really look at those gaps in between, you can tell whether you've got the shape right in the first place, how it sits in relation to the rest of the flower. And also as well, creating that contrast between the buds and the actual flower petals, you can see that it makes it a much more exciting drawing when you start to fill in those backgrounds and start to put in the tones that sort of put everything else in relation to it. So there you go. Just going to fill in a little bit more around here. Okay, so you get the general idea. I'm sort of creating an edge around the drawing, and I'm drawing in negative. Okay. A few little tweaks there. Okay, so the next part, we're going to draw completely in the negative. So I'm going to work on drawing the bits in between the flower. I've chosen a single flower for this, just so I can give you an idea. You might decide not to, it's entirely up to you. It is a little bit simpler if you do. And we're going to draw the shapes in between, but for the start, I'm going to just put in a mid-tone like we did with the boot. I'm just going to put a mid-tone in to take the hard work out of it, so you can see that I'm really looking at the shapes in between. I'm drawing them in line, and then I'm filling them in with a mid-tone so that I can get a good start on my drawing. Okay, so you can see that I'm starting to fill in. Not too dark, not too light, because we are going to cut into it with the rubber, so if you go too dark you might not be able to get a lot of it off, so you want to make sure that you can still get some of it off if you want a lighter tone later on. Okay, so I'm filling in that background as much as I can. Go as far as you want. You don't have to do the whole page if you don't want to. And now I'm going to just start to look at building in some of those shadows. So I might swap between my 2B and my 6B pencil here, just so that I can get, you know, some good contrast and take the hard work out of it. We don't want to be pressing really hard, do we? If you've got a softer pencil, then that's the time to utilise it, really, so you don't have to press too hard. It'll hurt your fingers. Okay, I'm starting to look for some shapes of the leaves happening here. Build those in as well. And there's going to be lots of graduating tones. Phone's beeping away in the background there, sorry about that. Okay, so you can start to see that I'm building up my mid-tones and dark tones over the top as well, or mid to dark tones as well, and cutting in with my rubber when I need to as well. So I'm really having a look at the detail of the leaves. And I'm leaving the flower completely. Sorry, I should have moved my page up there, shouldn't I? Rookie error. So it's being mindful of where the light's hitting as well. Again, you can use your value scale. You've got one where you can check against a photograph that you've got, and see where your tones lie, whether they're dark and they're light. I think I've shown you all that, how to do that in class. Just by adding the shadows in, the edges of the leaves will come naturally as well, so I can add the detail over that if I want to as well. I'll start to add some detail in here. You can see that as I'm going along, that's starting to make the edges of the flower really strong, because we're building up the contrast behind them as we go along. So by adding more darker tones, I can start to pull out the edges of the leaves as well, which is starting to make a lot of definition in my drawing, which is a lovely thing to do. So I'm still thinking about those gaps in between at the moment. I'm going to do the flower last, as I said. Sorry about the jumps again. I'm having such difficulty getting my recordings onto a computer, so bear with me with that. I keep finding that there are parts that are corrupted and don't work, so you'll get the general idea. So I'm starting to add a little bit of detail as I'm going along here as well, using my dark tones and mid-tones and shadows to create a nice crisp edge to that white flower and create a really lovely contrast as well. So we were using our negative space to create our positive shape, that's positive space if you like, and that will help you to start informing yourself when you're struggling with a drawing. What's going wrong with it? What can I look at to see, to make sense of it? And you look at the negative shape. So you look, for instance, if you're drawing a body, you can look between the arms, the shape of the neck, you know, the shape around the neck, so that you can get that kind of information and start to really pull together all your proportions and your shapes. And of course, when you're working like this, you're working in tone an awful lot as well, so that will help you as well, as I've said before. it does create a really nice contrast around this the flower as well. That flower's going to be really nice and light. And of course as well you can use your pencils. You know, at the moment this is a 2B pencil. In a short while I'm going to change to a HB. There we go. So that I can be mindful of getting lighter tones. I'm going to do a little bit of smudging as well because I want to be as delicate as I can with this. I want to really keep it light to keep that contrast. I don't want to lose any of it really. So I'm working in some of the subtler tones here. I'm being mindful of how light I need to be, how much of the detail I need to put in. There's quite a lot of light colours in here, so I'm being really gentle with my pencil, and being really mindful of the detail that I need to put in as well, and the overlapping petals as well, because we need to show that a little bit as well. So if you've got a garden that's stocked full of lovely flowers, look for the ones with the contrast so you can have a go at drawing the negative shape, make it a little bit easy for yourself. If not, and you can possibly get out for a walk, go and have a look around, see what you can take a snap off and bring it home and have a go, and let me see what you do. So you can show us on our Facebook page or you can email me. Yeah, just keep in touch. Great to see what you're going to be up to. Fantastic. Speak to you soon.